Listen, I think for me, for John to be given the game, I think that these games are for the top referees, and I've always said that John Beaton's one of the top referees in the country.
Brendan Rodgers has backed brother John ahead of this Sunday's Old Firm. Not back to Fog Football. He was in his press conference. We'd come on in his press conference with Connor Goldson talking as well. But we're looking at Brendan Rodgers' comments today, and it's refreshing. It is seriously refreshing to see and hear these comments from Brendan Rodgers, because I thought he would be out trying to pretend that brother John shouldn't be anywhere near this game, as we've seen with Hugh Keevins and Chris Sutton. The same Chris Sutton that came out and said that you're setting a dangerous precedent if Rangers come out and say that they don't want Kevin Clancy refereeing certain football matches, has then come out and exactly said the exact same thing about brother John Beaton. So what's the difference? Is Chris Sutton delusional? Yes, he is. I mean, it's hypocritical, alright, to say the least, but it's refreshing to hear John Beaton be labelled as a top referee by Brendan Rodgers. But he did go on to make further comments about him, explaining how he feels relaxed and comfortable about it all.
So he's been allocated the game. I'm comfortable with that. He's refereed games that have been there before, so
it's good to know that Brendan Rodgers ain't feeling uncomfortable. We would hate for Brendan Rodgers to feel uncomfortable with the appointment of brother John. But in terms of what else did he talk about in this press conference, because it was obviously going to be very much highlighted the fact brother Beaton was in charge of this game from the refereeing standpoint. But he said he's done games there that I've been involved in before. My point about him was that on one game, not John Beaton's career as a referee, my gripe was on that day, they will feel that they needed to appoint someone who's experienced, and John is one of the top referees in the country. End of quote there from big Brendan Rodgers. So what he's saying is that the incompetence was only on one day. I'm sorry, incompetence is a term you would use for like a series of events, right? You wouldn't use the term incompetence for a one-off. A one-off is a mistake. So Brendan Rodgers is talking out his arse, alright? Incompetence is like a series of mistakes, in my opinion. Now, I guess no referees are perfect. Referees will make, mistakes. And you can't just make one mistake and then, if you make one more, if you make more than one, then that's you incompetent, ruled forever. But incompetency is more or less a trend, a sequence of events, a sequence of mistakes. I don't think Brendan Rodgers is doing himself any favours by coming out and pretending here that, guess what, big man? It wasn't actually incompetence any other games. It was just that game against Hearts. And again, I think too much has been put on John Beaton for that. What about Don Robertson? He was the guy that actually gave the decisions. So let's not, smoke crack about it. But John Beaton, I'm glad. I'm not going to say I'm glad they've went with Beaton, because honestly, I don't really care who the referee is. Rangers got to turn up and get the job done. But it's good to see that the SFA weren't afraid to put Beaton in, because Hugh Keevins, right? We all think he's pro Rangers, so he's the pro Rangers side of things. Sutton's obviously the pro Celtic side of things. To actually see them both come out and be like, it's unfair on Beaton, is what Hugh Keevins' narrative is, and in the narrative that Sutton's pushing is that, he just shouldn't be allowed to referee a Celtic game. It's pathetic. It is honestly pathetic. And Sutton's opinion is pretty much because a lot of Celtic fans, decent portion of them, don't want to see Beaton anywhere near one of their games. It warrants a good enough reason that Beaton shouldn't be in charge of refereeing for one of those games. It's baffling. The excuses are coming in even before the game is even remotely being, kicked off. Sorry. You look at the last couple of Old Firms. What decisions, right, have truly went against Celtic in the last couple of Old Firms? I mean, you'd probably have to go back to the 2-each game. At the start of Beale's tenure, where even though in the law, Connor Goldson, what he did is not a handball, they were crying about that, and then the Starfelt tackle on Sakala. But I mean, we're talking like what, 15, 16 months ago, which it feels actually longer than that. It feels like the early days of Michael Beale, that game coming back and beating Aberdeen 3-2. To think that's only over a year ago is honestly bizarre. But you look at that, Rangers have had so many. I mean, the Morelos disallowed goal, right at Parkhead, which I thought was a disgrace. Johnson just flinging himself to the floor. The roof goal disallowed earlier this season. The Alistair Johnson handball. But it was offside, right? I can't be arsed debating it too much again because I feel like all I've done is debate that incident. So yeah, I think if one team's gonna have a problem with officials in recent Old Firms, it's got to be Rangers. I mean, Cal McGregor literally came out after that 2 each game and said that Celtic are pretty much going to have to get every decision till the end of the season for things to even out. And if you look at it, they pretty much have. And the Old Firm since then, Rangers have not really had any decisions go their way. And I'm not talking about, oh, but there was a throw in Rangers got and it was actually a throw into Celtic. I'm talking about the big decisions, right? I'm talking about goals. I'm talking about, penalties. I'm talking about things like that. I'm not talking about, Rangers actually got a wee throw in there against Celtic when it actually flicked off a Rangers man. No, because that would be sad. That would be pathetic. And that would also be very desperate. But in terms of what Clement has said, I guess we may as well wrap it up. He says pretty much that this game will not decide the league title. In his words, he says, it's not yet a decisive game. Whoever wins is not the champion. I get it, he's downplaying it, right? Because that's just the way we managers talk. He'll know if Rangers win that game on Sunday, it's a pretty big step towards title 56, but, he could turn around and say that, and that automatically puts pressure on him in a sense of, well, come on, you said before the Celtic game, if you won, that you would take a massive step, and here you are, you won, then you fucked up the league. So you can understand every manager. I mean, I wish we lived in a world like where the managers come out and went, we're going to beat Celtic, see when we do. We're going to be nailed on favourites to win this league title, and it's going to be coming home to the blue side of Glasgow. Now that would be, that would be real. That would be a real McCoy. That would be a shooting from the hip, but we're not going to get that anymore, that is for sure. And also Cal McGregor, folks, was spotted in training, so looks like he definitely will be featuring against Rangers. Again, don't know how fit he is, but if he's in training, that's good news for Celtic, so to speak. And as for Red Fan Yilmaz, it's been labelled as 50-50. But again, not the bread. I don't care how fit Yilmaz is, even if he's got to play. Borna Barisic, man. We've had enough of Borna Barisic from Rangers' point of view. I cannot sit and watch another Old Firm game and watch Borna Barisic in at left back costing us. It would be soul destroying. It would honestly be sick. Clement also, while speaking to Sky, said it's a special place in that way. He was talking about Glasgow. It's a special city in that way. Everyone is always looking back to the past, speaking about referees who made a wrong decision against their team in 1993 or 2008. And to pretty much sum it up, that is right. I mean, it's years ago, folks. We need to let it go. Clement's hit the nail on the fucking head there. Referees, I'm sick of the referee talks. What about whoever's the best team on Sunday wins? And we'll see who that is come Sunday. But until then, peace.